I'm Jose Candelario. Right now, I'm going to be joined on the phone by one of the Stylistics, one of the original members of the Stylistics, Airrion Love, the baritone with songs like Betcha By Golly, wow, and so much more. Airrion, can you please tell me, how did you get into music, and were you like in a choir or anything like that to get started?
I mean, I listen to artists that have a gospel background, and I don't have a gospel background by no means. I can just hold a melody. So I don't think I'm one of the great singers out there. I just think I've been lucky enough to have a pleasant enough voice to to be a part of the Stylistics.
You formed a group in '68. How did that come about?
Well, when we graduated from high school, the group that I was in was called the Monarchs. We were left with uh, two singers and a drummer. A group called the Percussions that was also in the same high school. Members from their group went into the military, and they were left with three singers, a guitar player, and a bass player. We combined the two groups, came up with a new name, and started working around Philadelphia. We were approached by a gentleman by the name of Bill Perry. He took us in the studio, recorded our first record, You're a Big Girl Now, and things started from there. Bill got in touch with Avco Records, who released the record national, and then Bill kind of like disappeared. We didn't see Bill anymore. Avco said, well, the first record was so successful, let's do an album. And they got in touch with Tom Bell, and Tom Bell produced our first three albums.
Wow. Competition is very healthy, right? And you got rappers beefing now, but back then, who were your rivals?
Wow, Blue Magic, the Dramatics, uh, the Delphonics. Now, the Blue Magic and the Delphonics, both groups are from Philadelphia. And the Blue Magic, when they came out, which was after us, their sound was so close to ours. They had a first tenor that tried to mimic our first tenor. But they used the same musicians that Tom Bell used. And in fact, the guitar player, Norman Harris, was their producer, who was the guitar player on a lot of our sessions. So it was very competitive, even though we worked a lot. And in fact, until today, we still work together sometimes. And the competitiveness has subsided. They have their fan base, and we have our fan base, and we just, accept it for what it is. And we're friends.
One thing about your band, you still got two out of the three members still to this day. I mean, other people, when you go see them, they swap out everybody. So you really have barely anyone that's original. How does it feel to still be there with Herb and still doing your thing?
Yeah, well, you know what? It's definitely a blessing. Luckily, the lead singer that we have now, Jason, he's been with us 15 years. And we always felt as long as we can give our audience as close to the sound of our original material, we can continue to work. And that's what has been happening for the last basically 57 years. And then also the fact that we've had great material in the past that people have fallen in love with and still do to the day. Luck also plays an important part. Herb and I both are 75, and I don't realize it sometimes until we say our age on stage and the audience go, ooh. Like it's such a big deal, but we still enjoy it. We still do our choreography, And like I said, it's all really a blessing to still be here, period.
I mean, I'm sure that the next day you feel it in your bones too.
Yeah, and you don't feel about. In fact, did an interview a few days ago, and the gentleman told me, "You guys came out in '68." Wow, I was 1 year old in '68. I said, "Yeah, thanks." that makes me feel nice. Listening to your voice, you sound like another young one.
I won't even tell you when I was born, sir. Just to keep it copacetic.
Okay.
But I do admire your fashion. Fashion has come and gone, but your suits can still be worn today. Tell me a little bit about how how you decide what to wear, and and the fact that your fashion has not gone out of style.
Yeah, well, that's why we're called the Stylistics. But we've always felt when you come on stage, you got to look presentable. There's some artists out there that comes on in jeans and shirts. There's no organization to the way they look on stage. But we refuse to do that. If, for whatever reason, we'll come out on stage in jeans, then you know that the airlines lost our uniforms. That's the only way that would happen, But usually we dress coordinated. Sometimes it's bow ties, sometimes it's regular ties, but it's coordinated.
Oh, yes, I can tell. All right, your music has been covered by many, many artists over the years, but I'm going to pick out two, and you tell me who did it better, okay? So the first is Diana Ross and Marvin Gaye in '73 with Stop, Look, Listen, or Prince's Betcha by Golly Wow.
Well, I prefer Prince's Betcha by Golly Wow because even though it was the same song, he did a younger curve on it, and I liked his approach. Diana Ross and Marvin Gaye's was pretty much straightforward, even though Marvin did a little twist on his approach to the melody, which I like. And it's funny that you mentioned that because we were in Seattle at a 4-day engagement, and I was playing that song for the guys and letting Jason hear Marvin's approach. How could I forget the way he did that little change in melody on it? I liked, but Prince is the one I prefer.
All right. So all these years you've been out there, you have fans all over. Does it still astound you, the reception you get when you hit the stage?
Yes, it does. And what's happening today, naturally, we've seen our fan base get older. And some people come up to us and say, well, your music was the only music that my parents played. And I was like raised on your music. And what amazes me now that we could be singing like say Betcha By Golly Wow. And I'm looking at the audience and I see so many different responses. I can see some people crying. I can see other people, laughing and clapping their hands. And then different emotion comes from this particular song. And I say, wow, this one song has affected the people that I'm seeing differently now than it did when it came out. So it may be bringing back a loved one that may have passed, and it might have been their favorite record that they shared. But there's so many emotions now to our music when we perform it on stage than it was in the 70s. In the 70s, we were just a part of everything that was going on, and it was new music, and no one has grabbed it to a point that it becomes a story of their life. Now we're looking at people, and they come back and tell us. I mean, one couple said, we have 3 children, and each of them were conceived on one of your songs. That's pretty deep when you think about that. Not only do our music bring tears and happiness, but people have made love to our music also. So at this stage, it's a little different than 1970.
Well, you're still going to have an opportunity to make babies, because Falling in Love with My Girl is out there right now after 20 years. The Stylistics.
Well,
what should people expect from this album?
Well, honestly, I don't know how much more time we got left, but we were worried about doing this project because the gentleman that produced it is coming from a rock background. And in fact, quite a few of the musicians that he's friends with, that he had to perform on this album. And we didn't want to lose our fan base. So the songs that we picked, we tried to pick something that would be fresh, but something that could still be identifiable Stylistics material. And so we're hoping that we continue keeping our fan base and we get some new fans with these songs.
Oh, thank you very much for your time, and have a blessed day, and thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you. You too. Be safe.